What is a mystery? By simple definition, a mystery ranges from something not understood or beyond understanding to a truth that is unknowable except by divine revelation. It is an unknown, a curiosity, and an uncertainty. The state of not being understood defines a mystery. We want to understand, so we seek to understand and illuminate that which, for the time, is beyond us. Whether through information gathering, logic, or understanding, a mystery is an unknown that we want to make known. More than simply seeing a narrative to its conclusion, mysteries invite us into its tale, allowing people to be a participant as much as an observer. By its nature, it is a perfect genre of storytelling. But in that light, what makes a good mystery? That part's a bit more subjective. Maybe it's the escapism of following an expert sleuth as they unravel a conspiracy, or the coziness of knowing that the truth invariably comes to light and justice will be served to wicked perpetrators. The clues, the spiderweb of connections, red herrings, the intrigue, the inevitable truth coming to light, all fantastic elements that have long since hooked readers and viewers. Historically, the mystery genre's greatest strength, the thing that sets it aside from its contemporaries, is its level of involvement with its audience. Mysteries challenge their readers and viewers to solve the mystery alongside or before the capable protagonist. Everything the sleuth uncovers, the audience knows. That feeling of satisfaction of solving a case alongside the greats of the genre is a feeling unlike any other. Mysteries, by design, are interactive. But as the interactive has grown and evolved into its own medium, it begs the question, what makes a good interactive mystery? What does a video game need to do to give it a leg next to the established genre in print and cinema? Is it controlling one of the great sleuths of literature, uncovering the clues, solving the mystery like they would? Is it poking holes in testimony and presenting evidence to uncover the truth? Is it gleaning what happened in the setting based on lore and item descriptions, even if the game won't explicitly say so in its natural arcs? Is it about the questions being asked, or the answers that we seek? The more we consider interactive mysteries, the more we have to consider a fundamental difference within interactivity, that between mysteries and puzzles. Think of a literal jigsaw puzzle. Jumbled, disparate pieces all designed to go together in a specific way for a specific, singular outcome. Some games tout themselves as mysteries when, from a gameplay angle, they are more akin to puzzles. You have to collect all the pieces of the puzzle, be that evidence, testimony, or truth bullets, before finding the solution and completing the puzzle. These kinds of puzzle mysteries are often found in visual novel-style games. While closer to the original mystery novels, they can't quite reach what the interactive medium is capable of for the genre. Same principle with puzzle box or escape room style games, where you are presented with self-contained puzzles or puzzle hubs that necessitate solving the puzzles in order to move on. Good puzzles need not be a good mystery. After all, the thrill of an escape room is not necessarily the plot or scenario of the room, it's in finding and solving the puzzles. As is the case with literal jigsaw puzzles, there's no need to ruin a perfectly good puzzle if it's enough on its own. The man in the toupee murdered this girl. How can we prove it? The victim wrote these numbers before she died. What do they mean? This sound system and speaker seems connected to the giant stone door. How do we operate the speaker to open the door? These locks must be connected to something in this room or hotel. Now, what is it? Just like a jigsaw puzzle, these pieces fit together somehow. How do they fit together? Puzzles provide the questions, or the locks, while challenging you to give the right answers, the keys. A mystery compared to a puzzle puts you in the position of finding the answers and asking the questions. Stumble across a corpse. Who is this, and how did they die? Travel to a new planet. How do I safely explore this biome with its dangerous natural phenomena? Just walk around for a bit. What are these platforms for? A good interactive mystery has layers. Answers that beget more questions, which beget more exploration, which begets more understanding. A good mystery can be a good puzzle, but it's all in the framing, in how the puzzle is presented. Can you see the outline of the jigsaws, or do you have to do a little more digging to even discover that? That's where a mystery stands apart from a puzzle. Even if you think you have all the pieces, it's not as easy as putting them together because you can't always see where or how the pieces fit in. Written literature and cinema can be chunked out into genres and then subgenres. Within the mystery genre, there exist, to just scrape the surface, classic detective, cozy, legal, and noir subgenres. Video game genres are more descriptive of how you interact with or play the game. Role-playing games, first-person shooters, city managers, even their main sources of inspiration like Metroidvanias and Souls-likes. And within each genre, you can see it split off into different permutations. The differences between horror games like Layers of Fear and Resident Evil 7, or role-playing games like Sunless Skies and World of Horror, is in how that particular experience is interacted with. Their umbrella genre is similar, but how the story is told, whether through game mechanics or storytelling methods, can be different. When you are interacting directly with the mystery game, it's not a matter of how the mystery is presented in vibe and atmosphere, but in gameplay and mechanics. How you solve the mystery. It's how the mystery is shared with you and what tools you have at your disposal to interpret the mystery. Let's elaborate. Sometimes it's ultimately about locks and keys, but with a twist. Classic examples are Myst and Riven. Here, the mystery is shared through interpretation and puzzle solving. This is the kind of good mystery that's also a good puzzle I mentioned earlier. Here, it's not as easy as just solving the puzzles. You need to find out 1, what the puzzles even are, then 2, how to solve the puzzles, and finally 3, how the puzzles connect with one another. The original manuals provide zero context, purely there to make sure you know how to control the game. In Myst, it's all about figuring out how to activate certain puzzles, how to trigger events, and basically, how to move forward. You may encounter some beachfront valves on Myst Island, but until you know what they manipulate and what they need to be manipulated to, you can spin them until you're blue in the face. Nothing's going to change. Same with the marker switches scattered around. Keep flipping the switches, but until you solve that puzzle, or get extremely lucky, the mystery will remain. The 4 different ages that you can explore exist independent of each other. You don't need to remember anything from Channelwood to proceed in Stoneship, but everything you need to complete Mechanical is in the Mechanical Age. In essence, you can't use the keys until you know which locks they go to, and what the locks even are. Riven takes it a step further, one fully interconnected world begging near masterful understanding of its intricacies to complete your quest. Progress is locked behind understanding, which is locked behind a silent, exhaustive interpretation of the world around you. Myst set the foundation by shipping with a blank, paper-bound journal for its original audience to take notes in and reference in their adventures. In a time before screenshots and screen recording, note-taking was paramount for solving the game's myriad puzzles. The note-taking is where interpretation comes in. While you're scribbling notes down, you're seeing these puzzles in one way, but if you can shift your perspective just right, then you see it a different way, maybe in a way that lets you move forward. And without any context in the manual or cover art, the games are rife with mysteries. What happened to the person who wrote this note? What's the deal with these guys in the books? How do I get into the rocket ship? There's no waypoint system, no explicit guidance one way or another, just you investigating and trying to solve the mysteries of Myst. By interpreting clues and solving puzzles, the mysteries become clearer, and Myst itself becomes a conquerable mystery. Lastly, for this kind of mystery game, Myst and Riven go to great lengths to put you in the protagonist's seat. From the moment you touch the Myst portal, everything is about you. The characters, scattered though they are, talk to you. Neither your gender nor your appearance is ever referenced. You are solving the problems and puzzles. You are taking the notes to apply to these puzzles. It's all you. Myst was ahead of its time in this regard. It didn't give us a famous detective to control and live through, instead giving us the tools to be the detective ourselves. In a more focused sense, take a look at the case of the Golden Idol. In its base anthology of 11 cases, Golden Idol shares its mysteries through logic and observation. The mysteries follow a simple loop. Get dropped into a mystery near or at the conclusion of a fatal crime or incident, investigate the scene, gather key terms and vocabulary, and piece together the truth of the events that have unfolded. Investigators, once more as a nameless, faceless investigator/observer, regularly switch between two modes throughout their mysteries. Exploration, where they click through various locations, points of interest, and characters and remind themselves of passing clues, and thinking, where they attempt to cobble together the truth in a Mad Libsian format, using all the information and terminology they've gleaned from their investigation. To that end, you have full investigative liberty to explore an entire scene in a fixed point in time, and are neither penalized for taking time to learn the truth, nor rewarded for blasting through a mystery in record time. You have time to sit with your thoughts, evidence, and clues. The truth is rarely laid out bare for investigators. There is a great deal of connecting threads over time, revisiting clues to glean new information, and challenging sleuths in games of deduction and reason. Mechanically, Golden Idol encourages you to be the ultimate investigator while still keeping you on the right track and dissuading guessing and stumbling through the mysteries. It encourages you to actually form out most of an idea of what happened, rather than blindly throw word spaghetti at the wall in the hope that something sticks. It reminds investigators in its own way to reevaluate their stance, their assumptions, and their approach to the mystery. Sometimes that's all it takes. Refocusing your logic and observing the crime scene in a different way. By investigating throughout the scenes, you glean information. By focusing on the information, you deduce truths. By deducing truths, you narrow your scope. And by narrowing your scope, you ultimately come to a conclusion, no matter how wild that conclusion may seem. And some of these conclusions will be wild. Golden Idol is the manifestation of the old Sherlock Holmes adage. Once you eliminate the impossible, whatever remains, no matter how improbable, must be the truth. The case of the Golden Idol is one big mystery solved through logic, even if you can't reason with the truths it leaves you with. Instead of breadcrumbs and evidence, perhaps a mystery based on words and insight, incriminating or not, is more your style. Paradise Killer shares its mystery through interrogation and connection. Controlling investigator Lady Love Dies, real-world investigators will explore Paradise Island on the eve of its Phoenix-esque destruction and rebirth. Their investigation loop? Exploring and island hopping for clues and connection, and interrogating the residents for information and insight. Their mission? Deduce the how, why, and who behind the crime to end all crimes. The crime has already taken place, and the remaining suspects are landlocked. Nobody else is evacuating the island until the investigation is complete and a trial is held. The meat of Paradise Killer is in its visual novel-style conversations, which open up more as the suspects react to clues around the island or to information shared by other suspects. Aside from the inciting crimes mystery, there's also the mystery, at least for you, of how this island operates. It is entirely foreign, like a vaporwave trip with poetic lore sprinkled around, begging to be understood as you try to make sense of the crime to end all crimes. The connections between the world, the characters, and everyone's place in the system is a separate mystery to solve, which can arguably impact how investigators approach the main mystery as well. Is the world you're learning about worth saving and perpetuating? That's up to you. Paradise Killer is all about discovering connections between the suspects through conversation, searching for understanding about the island, on the island, and trying to find out how deep the rabbit hole on both sides goes. The most fascinating potential of Paradise Killer from a mystery perspective is its open-endedness. Investigators can explore and interrogate as much as they want or feel they need to, and can walk into the courthouse to start the trial at any time, as long as you can back up your claim. When the endpoint is controlled by the investigators, Paradise Killer places its mysterious weight on finding the information and connections, on the thrill of discovery. Unlike other mysteries, the visual novel format takes a degree of agency from the would-be investigator. I could never be as eloquent as Lady Love Dies in her interrogation, but it's still worth exploring. The beginning of the mystery, when you start with no information outside the crime timeline, is its most thrilling, and the rest of the experience is trying to make sense and truth of those initial findings. On a similar vein, the Forgotten City shares its mystery through conversation and understanding. Here, you are not trying to solve a crime necessarily, but to simply understand the world you find yourself in. The short and spoiler-free version is this. The faceless explorer, male or female by whatever printed name you choose, enters a portal, sending them back to an ancient Roman community in a deep, inescapable valley. About 20 citizens still live in the city, beholden to the golden rule. The many shall suffer for the sins of the one. Inevitably, the golden rule will be enacted due to somebody's choices, and your only options are to join the city in punishment or escape through the same portal that brought you to the city, now acting as a time loop to the beginning of that day. Both out of necessity, you have to escape to survive, and curiosity, it makes no damn sense, compels me though. You are propelled into the mystery at hand. While the Forgotten City is a first-person perspective game, it's light on combat, if not devoid of it. Making sense of the city doesn't involve plowing through it with force, but in talking with its inhabitants. You're trying to understand others and trying to make them understand you in a very brief window of time. Folks are happy to talk with a newcomer like yourself, no matter their intentions, so you're generally in a good position to learn from others. You learn more about their lives, their way of being, how the golden rule manifests and doesn't. You learn by conversing. To say more is to say too much, but suffice to say that the conversations you have point you in different directions, help you dig further into the city and its golden rule, and ultimately uncover the truth of everything. On the other end is understanding. Understanding the city you're exploring, the people who inhabit it, the intertwining events of these fateful hours, and the mechanics that allow you to learn more and change those events. By understanding the people, you can dig deeper into their potential to trigger the golden rule. By understanding the events, you can plan ahead to address them more efficiently. By understanding the time loop mechanics, you can act as an oracle and manipulate events before they happen. By understanding the city, its culture, its rules, you know the limitations of your actions that will permit you the greatest amount of time to explore. Like Paradise Killer, the Forgotten City can feel scripted and Railroad-esque, both due to its quest log format, which, granted, can be toggled, and established dialogue responses. Still, it puts you in the detective seat, and it doesn't restrict would-be sleuths with more puzzle box-style gameplay. The momentum in dialogue-based mysteries like these is more consistent and lets investigators uncover the mystery more in a way you would reading a novel or watching a movie. A steady drip feed, keeping you looping back one more time to see it through. But what if the dialogue wasn't directed at you? What if you're just hearing it all secondhand, and even more than that, out of order? Across 3 different games, Her Story, Telling Lies, and Immortality, investigators are presented mysteries to be solved through searching and self-direction. You begin each game with little to no insight, only instructions on how to use various video referencing software. Search for key terms and watch the resulting videos with Her Story and Telling Lies, or match cut by image to another video in Immortality. The mystery is simply understanding what's going on. All the information is accessible, it's just a matter of 1. Knowing how to access it, the right keywords, the right images, or adjusting the video in the right way, and 2. Being able to place them in some kind of order, more of a challenge in Her Story and Telling Lies. While Immortality does have a chronological sort function, there are still so many varied threads across time that simply sorting by date may not be enough. In Her Story and Telling Lies, I have distinct memories, and some original copies, of the notes I would scribble down, keywords I wanted to search, trying to make sense of aliases, webs of connections between characters, notes that spiderwebbed out from the central questions. Immortality relied on momentum rather than pages of notes. Finding an image and blasting into the next connection one for one made for a more frenetic, but no less enigmatic, experience. They are, all 3, stories of perspectives, of truth, of art, that ask in the same breath to be put back together in a different order, reinterpreted from start to finish, from investigator to investigator. The order in which you discover the clues you seek may influence the conclusion you draw, but they are all mysteries. Who is this woman? Who killed Simon Smith? What are the connections between these four seemingly disparate characters? What happened to Marissa Marcel? These mysteries are like great onions, ripe with layers that beg to be peeled back further and further. Trying to understand the surface of what's going on bleeds into more questions, more mysteries, alibis, connections, betrayals, questions of truth and reality, of figures just out of frame, and answers we don't have questions for. In all three cases, the mystery only ends when investigators leave the experience for the last time. The credits will roll after certain parameters have been reached, but like Paradise Killer, when you are satisfied with what you've uncovered and the truths you've gleaned, you can stop, having solved the mystery to the extent you desire. There are no full-blown conclusions, no bows wrapped around a solution, no sense of mystery-based finality. In a mystery where you can uncover the confession halfway through your investigation, is that enough? Or will you keep digging to learn why? They are entirely self-directed. How deep do you want to explore? How much do you want to learn? It's up to you. Lastly, some mysteries give you a blank canvas and tell you to paint the solution. Of course, the caveat is you only have a paintbrush and no paint yet. And you're teaching yourself how to paint in real time. Only through investigation and learning can you understand the mystery. You have to find the paints and figure out how best to apply them to the canvas. Outer Wilds drops explorers in a living solar system with various planets and, for all intents and purposes, just lets them loose. After a quick planet-side tutorial and the inciting incident, explorers can blast off and go explore the system. But inevitably, if 22 minutes pass, the sun goes supernova and destroys the entire solar system, including you. Then you wake up just in time to start the 22-minute countdown and go explore again. The cycle repeats and provides the core mystery. What's going on in our little system? The only way to solve that mystery is through discovery and science. Each planet and space rock has their own set of mysteries to uncover. Historical, in terms of what happened to the previous race of creatures to inhabit the system, scientific, in how you can conquer the nature of each planet's biome, and exploratory, just in terms of, hey, I wonder what's around here. The mystery simply rides shotgun with explorers. The greatest joy in Outer Wilds is uncovering patterns and knowledge, finding connections, making and testing hypotheses. As you learn more about the cosmos, as your discoveries beget science, you make the daunting conquerable. You solve one mystery and leave yourself open and available to solve the next one. Each planet acts differently than the others, all begging to be understood so you can glean the most out of them. Their labyrinthine caverns, their precarious settlements, their tumultuous surface, or their interaction with its nearby celestial twin. Maybe it's greater or lesser forces of gravity, or the tools a previous civilization left behind, or various hazards that need contending with. Everything is a piece of information to feed into your scientific process. While the mystery is getting closer and closer to being solved with each new piece of information uncovered, this cosmic conundrum stands out with the joy of discovery. To that end, the explorer's ship is outfitted with an onboard computer log that tracks the major discoveries and how they thread into one another, adjustable for different levels of explorer. Unlike some other mysteries discussed, there aren't overt quest markers telling explorers exactly where to go. You can pin a general area, but it's always up to you to figure out what to make of those clues. The log doesn't think for you, it just remembers for you. You're still the one to follow the breadcrumbs on your own and eventually come to the end of that trail, more knowledgeable for it. While most games strive for a quick loading process between fail states, Outer Wilds comes standard with a chance for explorers to sit with their new knowledge and their loop's adventures. They watch everything they did flash before them before waking up at the start of the loop again. A simple opportunity to sit with new information, let it settle, and consider for a few calm moments what the next step is, what the next experiment will be, what mystery you want to pursue next. But sometimes, like our classic detectives, the mystery to solve is a job to be completed. As is the case with Return of the Obra Dinn, the mystery is shared and solved through focus and scrutiny. You control an insurance inspector in 1807 sent to investigate the desolate Obra Dinn, a trade ship thought lost at sea nearly 5 years prior. Your mission, and the mystery at hand, is to discern the identities of the crew and passengers, their ultimate fate, and, if applicable, who or what killed them. You're equipped with the Memento Mortem, a pocket watch that brings the user, as a passive observer, to the moment of a victim's death, permitting more in-depth investigation. The loop of investigation starts with finding a body and observing the moment of death. If you're lucky, you can glean enough to start making some conclusions. Once you've observed all of the available moments of death, save a few you are made aware of through the journal, the entire vessel becomes open to you. You move between moments of death, moments in time, in order to narrow down identities, fates, and just what the hell happened on the Obra Dinn. So you explore, investigate, discerning information from death's memories, jotting it in your auditor's journal, and repeating until you can confidently confirm the truth of any of the 60 souls aboard the Obra Dinn. The more you focus in on the questions at hand, the more you scrutinize the scenes and every shred of speculation, the more you learn about both the people aboard the ship and what befell the vessel all those years ago. Return of the Obra Dinn is another one of those games that was made better through note-taking. The game doesn't tell you what information is important, it simply makes the information accessible to you through clues on the ship and via the memories in Memento Mortem. Scribbling down thoughts or hypotheticals that can't be confirmed until later helps to fill in the gaps while you search for certainty. Like any good mystery, you cannot guess your way through. And like any good mystery, Return of the Obra Dinn is always at its best because it gives you the ability to solve the case in whatever way and whatever order you see fit. Everything always comes together in the end, no matter which threads you pull on first. Finally, a game that, on the surface, doesn't resemble a mystery in the slightest. TUNIC is a mystery from start to credits. It has red herrings of game design, it has clues scattered around, it has a truth that you are striving to discover. It shares its mystery through mechanics and gameplay. Indeed, the mystery is the entire game. Like some other games discussed, TUNIC starts with no leading information. You, a little fox, wake up on a beach. No catalyst, no story, no tutorials. Just wake up and go. The game looks like an explorer, like an old Legend of Zelda game with its items, collectibles, and sense of exploration. But it's also hard to explore because you can't read anything in the game's inscrutable language. Further, the combat feels like an action role-playing game like Bloodborne or Dark Souls, riddled with traps, tricks, and overwhelming fights, plus its bonfire-esque respawn mechanic and drop currency when you die setup. But these are just red herrings, subversions to keep you off TUNIC's true nature. For example, it's not as grueling as other ARPGs. You don't drop too much of TUNIC's plentiful currency when you fall. It's tough in its own way, but not punishing. There's a genuine air of mystery all over TUNIC's world. Items from strange coins to a literal stick are all presented as mysterious objects whose purposes can only become apparent with time, experimentation, and discovery. You come across doors without handles, brightly colored floor pads, and strange phenomena littered through the world, answers to questions you don't know how to ask yet. Tacking onto that mystery are the major collectibles, pages to an instruction manual for the exact adventure you are on. You learn, bit by bit, how to play the game that you are in the middle of playing. By mastering one element of its mechanics, you can uncover the next, and each mechanic both peels away a different layer of the world and adds to your understanding of it. All to say that there's a genuine sense of being somewhere you shouldn't, especially with what little you know. TUNIC's designer, Andrew Scholdice, explains the feeling pervading TUNIC. It's the feeling that somebody is earnestly trying to communicate with me and I just do not know. It's not like someone's keeping something from you, it's just that this isn't made for you. The world of TUNIC seems like it isn't made for you because you don't understand it. Not yet. But you can. The mystery is in how to play the game and what everything in the game means, and you become part of the world and its intricacies through your own understanding. TUNIC is a mystery of trial and error, of patience and understanding, of trying and trying again. It is a game that I unexpectedly scribbled several pages of notes and symbols on when I was expecting to only write my thoughts for reference. It hit me a ways through the experience. TUNIC is the closest I've come to the feeling of picking up video games, not a video game or a certain video game, but picking up video games for the first time. This is what it was like for the sensation to be new. Just figuring out how to play it was a mystery for you to solve. But TUNIC plays into that, so anyone can solve the mystery, seasoned gamers and new players alike. In the ultimate reversal of puzzles, TUNIC gives you all the answers at the start. There's no barrier or requirement preventing you from following the thread at breakneck speed. The only thing holding you back is your own understanding of the game, of the mystery that it is. You have all the answers. You just need to know what questions to ask. The thing about stories is that we want to share them with as many people as possible. Books have audio readings, dyslexic-friendly and large font prints. Audiovisual media have closed captioning and audio description options. Video games have any number of accessibility options. Colorblind modes, difficulty spectra, high contrast modes, accessible hardware like adaptive controllers and control customization, and so on. The thing about mysteries, specifically interactive mysteries, is that developers want people to complete them. They want you to see it to its conclusion, to uncover and lay bare the final truths, to be the investigator. But gamers exist on a spectrum with various needs of different levels of skill. These mysteries, in their own way, try to meet them halfway. A mystery is no good if it can't be solved. First, hint systems. If you're locked up, they just give you a nudge. Not the answer, a nudge. It's the difference between progress for progression's sake and still getting a sense of figuring it out yourself. After all, refocusing your perspective can be difficult if you don't know how exactly to refocus it. Later iterations of Myst, like realMyst, have built-in hint systems for you to access if you get locked up, pushing you towards the solution before gradually, at your request, revealing more and more about the mysteries and their solutions. Golden Idol also has a hint system, but encourages all would-be investigators to go back and reevaluate their assumptions first. Start your thinking from scratch, work your way back up, but if you really need it, you can access a hint with a little match exercise. One more chance to rethink your approach. It encourages hint seekers to look deeper inward for solutions rather than outward for guidance, but will never punish and will always relent if desired. After that, more traditional difficulty options and progress elements. TUNIC stands out here. Even though it's a mystery at its core, it still comes with a tough combat system to keep you on your toes throughout. But you can make it a little easier, diminishing the overall threat or toggling an unlimited well of stamina, retaining the threat of combat while making its hurdles a bit easier to vault. More, you can just as easily flip a no-fail switch in the options menu and become functionally invincible. You will still have to solve the mysteries on your own, but now you're free to do so without the fear of combat and defeat. On the more investigative side, the case of the Golden Idol will give investigators progress text based on how close they are to one of the many mysteries' solutions. Red text of, "This is mostly wrong, you need to reevaluate," gives way to the yellow text of, "You've almost got it, only 2 or fewer entries are incorrect." It lets you know you're on the right track and only have a couple things to rethink. Return of the Obra Dinn provides 2 forms of assistance. First, character portraits will only clear up in your journal after you've uncovered enough information to reasonably identify them. Piecing together the information still falls to you. Secondly, the journal notes progress of correct answers, but only in 3s. After you've accurately identified 3 souls and their fates, your penciled notes become permanently inscribed with pen. Investigators get a continued sense of progress instead of hoping that all of your notes are accurate by the time you disembark. Then, logs. Sometimes you don't think to take notes, or you're not prepared for notes, so the game gives you a hand. Logs are designed to remember big-ticket items and leads without investigators needing to actively track them, unless you want to track them. Most logs have the option to be turned off or their information minimized, depending on the investigator's preference. Paradise Killer's Starlight OS, it's a vaporwave laptop, don't overthink it, helps keep track of leads, suspect information like alibis and other connections, and anything that still needs following up. The Forgotten City's quest log operates like a Skyrim map marker. You can both get reminders of what needs investigating and where to investigate it. Outer Wilds has the onboard log computer I touched on earlier, displaying major threads and how different items connect to one another, and even acknowledging when you've stumbled on something important out there in space. These options are active by default and can be toggled off for a more immersive and self-propelled experience if desired. This last item isn't an option or a switch to be toggled, but I think it still deserves to be touched on, if only for the nature of mysteries. There is the self-made accessibility of an investigator's own knowledge as they understand more and more of the world they're in. In TUNIC, the ever-expanding instruction manual provides guidance to more effectively retread old ground, shedding new insight on the world and allowing you to re-examine it in a new light. Similarly, Outer Wilds compounds on your understanding of the planets and the overarching science operating in the solar system. When you understand different concepts exist universally, you can apply them universally. In these mysteries, your understanding of the world reshapes how you see the entire world. This all begs the question, outside of overall media accessibility, why do we need accessibility in mystery games? If you're not keen enough to solve the mystery, maybe these games aren't for you. For me, it's simple. Not all of us are actual sleuths, detectives, or scientists. It's good to have a lifeline so that we can stay on track and keep enjoying the mystery. Secondly, it's for one of the most important elements in storytelling: progress. Books can be read without pause, and movies are designed to continue playing even if we aren't following along with what's happening. But if a game is too difficult, inhibits progress, or doesn't give enough sense of progress, then we stagnate, we get bored, we leave without a care for the solution. The mystery isn't just unsolved, it's dead, buried, and forgotten. And a mystery, above all else, wants to be uncovered. All this taken into consideration, what is a good mystery, interactive or otherwise? Is it solving the smaller conundrums to make sense of a larger mystery? Yes, you know what transpired in this snapshot moment aboard the Obra Dinn, but how does that play into the whole voyage? You understand this one day's worth of interviews in her story, but how does it factor into the entire investigation? Now that you understand the pieces, do you understand the whole? Is it in its storytelling potential? To me, the secrets and solutions may tell a story, but the story isn't what makes a mystery, it simply augments it. A good mystery is disparate dots on an imaginary board. Keywords in Golden Idol, nuggets of clarity in Immortality, decisive testimony in Paradise Killer, a new perspective in TUNIC, or just the right angle to infer the truth in Return of the Obra Dinn. A good mystery is a spool of mental red thread connecting each fragment. The more we explore, the more we uncover, the more we deduce. Finding places to use new insight in Outer Wilds, pressing further based on new information in her story, uncovering connections between puzzles in Myst and Riven, and digging further into the truth with the spade of what you know now in the Forgotten City. It's a gradual drip feed of information, a picture that changes and focuses the more you learn and discover, giving you just enough to piece it together all on your own. Is it in the genuine, one-of-a-kind sensation of the experience? It's so hard to revisit and reappreciate it a second time simply for how deep the solutions can root into our minds. Answers to questions that hold no sway in my day-to-day life still linger in my head years after seeing a mystery through. But that's a remnant, an echo. A good mystery makes enough of an impact that it hurts you can't experience it a second time. If you've uncovered the answers once, you can't replicate that feeling of discovery. When you know how the blanks are filled in, what you need to do to quote-unquote win, when you don't need to think your way to the answers, when there is nothing standing in your way, it hurts that you can't go back to that state of newness, that experience of discovery and understanding. The next best thing is seeking out a new mystery, seeking out that feeling anew. That is the final core difference between puzzles and mysteries. The joy of puzzles is in solving them. The joy of mysteries is in understanding them. And that's what makes interactive mysteries stand apart from books, shows, and movies. You're not just following the deductions and comprehensions of Hercule Poirot, Jessica Fletcher, or Benoit Blanc. You're not following the detective. You are the detective. In the best cases, interactive mystery protagonists are quiet, faceless, a blank slate of personality. They leave you in the role of detective, investigator, and explorer. You learn about the intricacies of the world. You connect the red threads. You find the keys and the locks. You come to your conclusions. You crack the case. You solve the mystery, not on behalf of a character you inhabit, but for your own sake. Because you want to. Because you can. The best interactive mysteries are not simply games for players, nor puzzle boxes to solve, nor stories about the mysteries themselves. They are an opportunity, as much an experience as they are a mirror. In all of these mysteries, despite how fundamentally different they are, all of these threads connect back to one central point. They are stories about you.